I've got a Crest Audio CA6 professional power amp on the bench. I'm going to do a full restoration on this. This one does work, but it's just tired and extremely dirty. It's been used in a smoky environment all its life, and it smells like cigarettes really bad while it's running. And you can see how yellow all the heatsink grease and everything is. It's just disgusting. So I got to tear this all down to the frame, completely clean everything, and replace the capacitors. Even if they test good, I'm going to change them because there's a ton of hours on this, and electrolytic capacitors are only rated for a few thousand hours. I'm sure they're all way over there, way past their prime. The main filter caps are probably still okay. Those rarely fail in these, but I'll still check them. As far as the current performance, like I said, it does work, but it's a little bit muddy sounding, and the treble is a bit muffled, I think, and the gain controls don't track quite evenly. I think they're probably just dirty, but I might have to replace them. I just hope it's not a problem in the preamp somewhere, because that's going to be a pain to fix. And also took a bit of a hit on the front and pushed in a couple of LEDs, and there's a lot of tape residue and crap on the front of this. It's just generally a mess, but jeez, man, I bottomed the speaker out just touching the gain control on this thing. I think it's going to be a really nice restoration project. It's got a lot of current behind it, and you can tell because, I mean, look at the size of this power choke here. That's like 10 gauge wire, and of course the transistors are quite large as well. I think this is only rated 360 watts RMS per channel into 8 ohms, or 400 watts per channel, 8 ES rated, but it's got some current headroom, that's for sure. So let's get to tearing this thing down. Compared to some other amps I've worked on, removing the output modules was extremely easy. There's just 3 screws going through the bottom of the amp that hold it in place, and everything has connectors. There's a ribbon cable, there's 2-pin, and this little connector down here, and also the main power connector. It comes out just as a module, and I'm pretty sure both sides are identical. I don't have the service manual for this, so I gotta just go by general electronic knowledge when doing this restoration, so that's kind of frustrating. I might have to try to track down the manual later. Down here is where those connectors went for the power, and they're very tight in this space down here, so I ended up using a screwdriver to push in on the tabs and pull the connectors up. I've already got the one for the other channel disconnected too. So, okay, both channels are out now. I'm gonna get this power supply board out next. A couple notes also for my reference if I forget where things go. I gotta remember to check the voltage on these filter caps, make sure they're discharged. Should be able to do it right from those unused pads down there where another set of caps would go should this power supply have been used in a CA9 or CA12, because it was the same board in all of them, except they added more caps. We have yellow, orange, and red connectors on the left hand side. This one's on the right hand side. These both go into the transformer. Short ribbon cable to each output module is on the 2 outer corners, and then this one here, it goes to the front panel. Then this 2-pin here going to the back panel, and a fan connector on each back corner. Another example of how modular these amps are. 1 screw right down here, take that out, slide this on its keyway slots, and it lifts right out once you get all the wires disconnected, that is. Well, it was disappointing to find out how difficult they made this front board to remove. They put the mounting screws behind the front sticker, So you got to peel this off, potentially ruining it in the process. But I got to get that board out to work on it. You can see the Phillips screw head right there. Probably can't on the video though, because it's probably too dark. But they're under there. I just hope I can re-glue this sticker back on with some new adhesive when I'm done, because this is going to have to come off. Oh my god, it's naked. Finally got that off, intact, except there was already a chip missing out of it before I even started working on it, and I didn't notice until now. But I think it'll be salvageable. Who knows, maybe I can find a new one. I'm not going to keep my hopes up on that though. I don't think they make any parts for these anymore. Another note is use a good number 2 Phillips screwdriver when you're working on these amps, because these screws tend to be really tight and they're not very hard metal, so they will strip very easily if your screwdriver is worn out at all. Got all the screws out of this, and I just want to take a couple of notes on where this stuff goes. There's a metal shim between the switch assembly and the front panel. And for the wires, we have the output coming from the switch going into this top lug here. The black transformer wire is directly below that. And then down here, the yellow one goes to the power cord neutral. And then just above that is the white wire going into the transformer. And on the bottom edge of the board, there are these Molex connectors that go back to the signal input. Another thing I didn't notice at first, but there's an extra spade lug right down here that doesn't seem to be used. It's probably for a different voltage tap or something. Here's what that control board looks like. You can see the 2 LEDs that got pushed in and bent. There's also some more components on here than I really expected to see. It looks like that's the main power relay there. And got some filter caps. These potentiometers look like they might be kind of unique. So hopefully, if I need to get a new one, I can still get a new one. But that's going to be kind of a pain. That white thing on the back there is actually the detent mechanism, I think. And it looks like somebody's already resoldered these LEDs once before. This thing's been around. It looks like it was made in, by all the date codes I see on these different components, it looks like it's from about 1997. For the input panel in the back, there's 2 screws on each XLR jack, one in the center, a nut and washer on each 1/4 inch jack, and then on the back side of the board there's the screws that go into the the binding posts / banana posts, whatever you want to call them. Take those out, and also these screws for this board have a smaller head on them, that it's for a number 1 size Phillips screwdriver, so you can't get those mixed up with the ones off the front panel and stuff, because they won't fit quite right. Here's the input and output board assembly. You can see where there's optional, looks like there's optional speak-on jacks for these. And everything unplugs except for this one ground wire that's right here below that slide switch. That goes along one of these audio cables here with 3 zip ties, and then there's a nut and washer that's attaching it to that ground post on the chassis there. I've already taken that off. I just got to take these zip ties off and remove this so I can clean it. All that's left now is the power transformer. That just has a couple screws, maybe even just 1 screw going through the bottom of the chassis. I'll have to look at it again. And then there's the power cord. It has 3 zip ties, which I've already cut, but we're holding this audio cable against it. Take those off, and then to pull the power cord out, you just got to squeeze the tab on the strain relief and with some pliers and pull it out the back. I'm going to leave the binding posts in place for now, since they need to be cleaned anyway. Remove the fans. That's pretty self-explanatory. Just like taking a fan out of a computer for the most part. And then I'll be down to the bare frame, so I can clean it much more easily than having everything in place. And once that's done, it'll smell much better, and I can move on to cleaning these boards. That's going to be a little more complex, and I'll show you guys how I do that in a little bit. Once you've got this power cord ready to come out, take note of the ground stud. There's a star washer between the nut and the top of the spade lug on here. And that just comes off. And you can pull the cord out the back. Here's the power transformer. That thing's pretty doggone heavy. It says made in the EU. It's an imported transformer. It's actually labeled CA6 because I think another difference between the CA6, CA9, and CA12, of course, is the size of the power transformer. Kind of like that Yamaha amp I worked on a while back. They used the same circuit boards in all the models of the CA series. They just add some more transistors and do some other minor component changes to make them the more powerful model boards, and then install a larger transformer and more filter caps. It's pretty neat how it's a kind of a modular, upgradable design. And here's the almost empty frame. I just gotta take the fans out. This thing still is heavy because this is some thick metal on here compared to some of the newer amps I've worked on. On the back it says designed and manufactured in the USA by Crest Audio. You don't see that very often anymore. I think that most of these are all made in China now. Let me get these fans out of here and then I can give this thing a good scrub down. These fans are disgusting. I think these are those I remember these fans being kind of expensive, these Panasonic Panaflow with the changeable leads on them. Because I remember buying some of these for computers, and you could choose which lead you wanted on it, if you wanted it to have an RPM monitor or not. Cleaning of the case is underway. I'm doing the inside first, using simple green and a brush. It's a lot easier to use a brush because you can actually go right around posts and things like that would normally would catch on a rag. And just got to get every bit of the inside, scrub the crap out of it, and then you can wipe it down with a rag to dry it off. And then if there's anything in the screw holes, I like to take the air compressor and use that to blow all the water and cleaner out of the screw holes, because you definitely don't want it sitting in there and rusting. The main case is all clean now. It wasn't too bad. I just got to dry out the binding post with the air compressor, and I'm good to go with that. So now on to the circuit boards. I've removed the main filter caps to make it easier to clean this board. I'm going to do this one first since it's the simplest. But these are made by United Chemicon. They are 17,000 microfarad, 55 volts. Two of these on each channel, so there's 34,000 microfarads of filtering on each side. Well, I shouldn't say per side there. Everything's run in parallel, but I should say per polarity. It's not actually all that much capacitance really for how much power this amp puts out. It's awful tempting to add some more caps in there because it's just so easy to do. And as far as I know, the rectifiers are rated for it because they use the same ones on all the boards. And I've checked these three small caps. They are good, but I'm going to change them regardless. They're rated for 85 degrees Celsius. I like to use the 105 degree ones with the professional gear like this. But it's a good chance a lot of the caps in this amp are still good because these are pretty well made at the time. I've started cleaning the circuit boards now, and since the rectifier board is the easiest, I decided to do that one first. I basically just spray these down with simple green and use a paintbrush to scrub every little nook and cranny of the boards, you know, even inside the connectors and down inside the pins and all that on the connectors, and just scrub the crap out of it the best you can. It'll come out looking like brand new, and the pins will be nice and shiny in the connectors. The important part is to use a brush with soft bristles and a longer one like this, because you can actually go down like between components, places that are hard to reach with any other type of brush. And the bristles are thin enough that they won't bend pins on connectors or bend over small components and things like that. So it really works great. And it's really important though, after you do this, to rinse this with distilled water really well and then thoroughly dry it. I use my air compressor with a blowing nozzle and probably about 100 pounds of air pressure, give or take a few pounds depending on what you're doing. I'm just going to leave my compressor all the way up to like 120 pounds because I know how to do this without damaging anything. But if you're working with more fragile boards, I would go down to like even 35 or 40 pounds. First board is done. You can probably hear my compressor running out there. Looks like a brand new board. Nice and shiny. I can't wait to get the other circuit boards done. This one's pretty simple. But I'll show a side-by-side comparison of one of these assemblies that's cleaned and one that's not, so you can see the difference directly. Here's a before shot of one of the output modules. Very, very disgusting. I've got to take the preamp board off and remove the relay. These relays are actually sealed, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. And washing these. Let's see if I can spin this around here. It's so nasty. To get an idea of what the inside of this amp looked like, I mean, this cooling fan here is actually one of the cleaner of the two, and it's just really nasty. But I've got most of I think all the small boards are done, so all I got to do is clean the preamp and output modules and the cooling fans, and I can start reinstalling everything. Yummy. So nasty. You can't tell in the video how yellow that is, but it's very yellow. That stuff that's dripping off there. So disgusting. Another quick note, also to myself, before disassembling this, all these output devices seem to have the same screws, except for this LM350P that's right here. It looks like it might have a plastic flathead screw with no insulator underneath it. All the other ones have metal screws with insulators, and the big ones have these Allen screws with big washers. And from what I can see, everything on here all has mica insulators underneath it, so hopefully none of them are going to get broken. Well, I've started cleaning the first output module. Check out this pretty heat sink. It looks like brand new. I can't wait to do a side-by-side comparison of the two. Now I gotta clean the circuit board. Progress is coming along really well, at least on this one channel so far. I just finished drying off this board after cleaning it. It's nice and shiny. I just got to recap it and I can start prepping it for reassembly. It's going to be a real pain trying to clean off all those mica insulators without breaking them. I want to wait till I got this channel completely reassembled before I start working on the other one, just so I got one to compare to, and so I don't mix parts up between the two. Not that it would really hurt anything, but I'm just picky like that. Amp soup. Yummy. Something I noticed as I started doing the recap job, The positive on this board is marked with the line. There's like a flat line on one side of the circle there. That's actually the positive. So luckily there's not many caps on here to change, otherwise I might get confused when I get tired. I just finished putting this module back together. What a pain that was dealing with all those mica insulators. I think next time if I do something with this many devices, I'm going to try to use those silicone pad style insulators that are a lot easier to work with than the conventional mica and separate grease, because you got to get all those things, put all the grease on them. Cleaning them off is probably the worst part, because in fact I accidentally cracked one while I was cleaning it and had to borrow one out of that dead KLH receiver that's down there on the floor. So anyway, I got that all back on, and also made it difficult because there are little plastic standoffs between the circuit board and the heatsink that you have to lay those in place and try not to bump them while you're reassembling this, and also try not to bump the mica insulators after you've stuck them on the heatsink, and get everything back in place. And then the screws that hold the circuit board on are very soft nylon screws, so you can only put them up just so they're snug, otherwise they'll break very easily. And it's hard to tell on camera, but the difference between the two is just huge. This looks like almost like a brand new module here, and this one obviously is disgusting. I've also put some deoxit on the header pins before I assemble these, and so I know those will have a nice clean connection. And obviously all new caps. So all I got to do is tear this one apart and get it cleaned, and then I can move on to the last couple small parts. And when those are done, I can finally reassemble this beast.